Okay, today we're looking at tenses. We're going to talk about past, present, and future, and everything in between. So present tense. Present tense expresses an unchanging, repeated, or recurring action or situation that exists only now. It can also represent a widespread truth. So we have a couple of examples. Our first one is that there are 30 days in September. This is a general truth, something that everybody knows and knows to be true. It doesn't change. There are always 30 days in September. There will always be 30 days in September. A reoccurring action. Every year the school board elects new members. It's just something that happens every year. And lastly, we have the unchanged or repeated action. The sun rises in the morning, it sets in the evening. It's going to be repeated every day. The next one we have is past tense. Past tense expresses an action or situation that was started and finished in the past. So our example, we visited the museum yesterday, something we already did. Future tense. Future tense expresses an action or situation that will occur in the future. This tense is formed by using will or shall, and it's used with the simple form of the verb. One example is, I will get up late on Saturday, something that I'm sure you all hope you get to do. Another example is that the president speaks on Saturday. Now we're moving into the progressive verb forms. When we talk about this, we're going to start with present progressive tense. Now basically, in explaining this, we talk about present progressive tense. It describes an ongoing action that is happening at the same time the statement is written. Something that's progressing, essentially. That's why it's called progressive tense. This tense is formed by using am, is, and are with the verb forming in ing. Our example, the sociologist is examining the effects that racial discrimination has on society. It's something that the sociologist is currently doing and is going to progress in doing, so therefore it's progressive. Past progressive tense essentially means that the past progressive tense describes a past action which was happening when another action occurred. This tense is formed by using was or were with the verb form ending in ing. So this means the explorer was explaining the latest discovery in Egypt when protests began on the streets. So essentially when we're talking about past progressive, the explorer was in the midst of doing something, he was progressing through something when protests began, but all this happened in the past. And lastly, future progressive tense. Future progressive tense describes an ongoing or continuous action that will take place in the future. Again, this tense is formed by using will be or shall be with the verb form ing. Dr. Jones will be presenting ongoing research on sexist language next week. So essentially the doctor is going to present information on research that's still continuing next week. So again, if you notice, everything is progressing. The people who are doing these actions, they were progressing through, moving through. So now we're talking about perfect forms of verb tenses. We will start with the present perfect tense. Essentially, the present perfect tense describes an action that happened at an indefinite time in the past or that began in the past and continues in the present. This tense is formed by using has or have with the past participle of the verb, and most past participles end in ed, such as he has lived here for many years. Past perfect tense. Past perfect tense describes an action that took place in the past before another past action. This tense is formed by using had with the past participle of the verb, meaning by the time the troops arrived, the war had ended. Notice ended, meaning our past participle. Lastly, future perfect tense. Future perfect tense describes an action that will occur in the future before some other action. This tense is formed by using will have with the past participle of the verb. By the time the troops arrived, the combat group will have spent several weeks waiting. And By this, we're talking about will have, and spent being our past participle of the verb. The next, we have perfect progressive forms. Now, for perfect progressive forms, we have the present. We're going to start with present perfect progressive. Now, the present perfect progressive tense describes an action that began in the past, continues in the present, and may continue into the future. So now we're kind of combining the perfect tense with the progressive. This tense is formed by using has or have been and the present participle of the verb, basically the verb form ending in ing. So our example, David has been working for 2 hours and he hasn't finished yet. Our past perfect progressive would be the past perfect progressive tense describes a past ongoing action that was completed before some other past action. So we've got a lot going on here. This tense is formed by using had been and the present perfect of the verb, meaning the verb form ending in ing. So we're talking about two things that happened in the past. That's all that means. So before the budget cuts, the students had been participating in many extracurricular activities. So budget cuts happened in the past. Students had been participating in many extracurriculars in the past. And lastly, future perfect progressive. Future perfect progressive tense describes a future ongoing action that will occur before some specified future time. This tense is formed by using will have been and the present participle of the verb, basically the verb form ending in ing. Our example is by the year 2020, already in the future, linguists will have been studying and defining the Indo-European language family for more than 200 years. So everything that they just stated in this sentence is going to occur and will be occurring in the future. So by the year 2020 in the future, will have been studying and defining, both occurring and continuing on into the future. Now, your homework. You need to use two of the tenses that I just talked about, and you will need to create 2 sentences in the correct tense, and be sure to identify each tense. Be sure that these are 2 different tenses. You will submit this information to me via edmodo.com. So just click on the turned in, complete, and submit. That's all you need to do. So again, using 2 of the tenses, 2 different tenses, create 2 sentences in the correct tense, and be sure to identify each tense. You will submit this information to me via edmodo.com, and make sure this is submitted no later than Monday, first period. Thank you.